Judicial Watch is digging hard, deep, trying to get information that's been very hard to recover the last 4 years, and we got a lot of it on the last couple of days of the Trump administration. Mr. Fitton, welcome back to the program, sir.
Hey, Sean, good to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's talk about this. Now, we know that the FBI, we know now that Christopher Steele admitted to the FBI that, in fact, he made up the dossier to help Hillary Clinton. We know that the subsource in January of 2017 admitted that none of this was true. In other words, the main source for Steele. And yet they still continued to use this before the FISA court. Again, my term, premeditated fraud on the court.
Well, that's certainly true. And you take a step further back, you have to remember Steele at one point, through 2016, he was being paid by the FBI. So the Steele operation was a joint operation between the DNC, the Clinton campaign, and the FBI. Steele's misconduct led to the FBI to cut him off eventually from payment, but not from being a source. And so they approached him directly and then through Bruce Orr because, as you're highlighting, his material wasn't checking out. So they needed to keep probing and probing and probing. And they knew it was going nowhere. And yet, despite the fact they knew it was going nowhere, they had Mueller be appointed to investigate a non-crime. A remarkable abuse of power. And the FBI and the Justice Department we've seen now, Sean, in my view, it can't be trusted on any politically sensitive investigation. That's for sure.
What I've been saying, and what I've come to believe, and I never really thought was possible, is that, you know, we have major institutions now that are failing on a spectacular level. Now, I'm not going to do what Democrats and liberals do, and that's use a broad brush and say that most FBI guys are, this is a corrupt institution. It's not. The rank and file, the special agents, I know many of them, and they're as outraged as both of us are. But the reality is you had top people in power, and they abused that power, and they did things and said things and presented things to even courts, and a court as important as the FISA court, because, this is a dangerous world. We do need surveillance. We do need to protect the American people. But now, you have conservatives like me wondering if we can even have a FISA court unless, fundamental changes are made. Government's failing. The media is failing. Big tech is failing. Institutional leaders are failing. And, I everywhere I go, whatever happened to Comey, whatever happened to McCabe, whatever happened to all these other players, Strzok and Page and all these others that were involved in this. And I don't have an answer for them, Tom Fitton. Maybe you do.
I don't either. I think Attorney General Barr made a fateful mistake in relying on the institutions of the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate the FBI and Justice Department, and frankly, these other agencies. He faced resistance early on, we know that, and I don't think it was resistance he was able to overcome. And I mean, look at the Kleinsmith case. That was handed to Durham on a silver platter by the IG at the end of 2019. It took them forever and a day to get a plea deal, and then he goes into court and says, "Well, I'm not really guilty, even though I'm pleading guilty." What is the court supposed to do? What is the court supposed to do at that point? And we found out already that the FISA courts, they never held a hearing on any of the warrants targeting President Trump. This wasn't about Carter Page. This is about targeting President Trump. So when you have courts not bothering to hold even a hearing when agencies come in to say, well, we want to really spy on the Trump team here, boy, you're right. Why is the court even there to begin with?
Well, I mean, I know why it's there to begin with, because we have a lot of evil in the world, and we have a lot of enemies that are targeting America. And unfortunately, now I have less confidence than I've had in a long time that, our foreign policy now is fundamentally weakened. And, I can't believe we're giving up energy independence because I can see countries in the Middle East that hate us doing backflips. And Putin doing backflips, and the mullahs doing backflips, and China doing backflips. It's beyond frustrating. Yeah. All right, Tom.
The FISA court doesn't need to be there. The president has the authority to spy on foreigners. The question is, Who's accountable when he spies on Americans in the course of protecting us from national security threats abroad? And the FISA courts has taken that responsibility away from the FBI and given them cover, and that cover should be removed. The FBI and the president need to be held accountable for every spy warrant targeting any spy operation targeting Americans directly.
It says verified on the top of the application. None of it was even verifiable, and they never, ever were even held accountable. Why didn't you verify it? Simple things like that. All right, Tom, keep up the good work at Judicial Watch, 800-941-SEAN.